and this was also x plus a number. Let's take a look at what happens when you have x minus a number. So if we have x minus 6 to the third, and I believe this one is in your notes if you want to do it on your notes. So I'm going to start, I like to follow one of the patterns. So since this is to the third pattern, or third power rather, we're going to do x cubed, x squared, x to the first, and x to the 0. So I start with the highest power and I go descending from there. Okay. Then the negative 6, since this is a negative, we're going to take the negative with us when we multiply here. I should have left more space. So negative 6 to the 0, negative 6 to the first, that looks like a negative 2, negative 6 to the second, and negative 6 to the third. So I went on the x's 3, 2, 1, none, and on the negative 6 I went starting with 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now if I wanted to do combinations instead of Pascal's triangle, I would do 3, choose 0. And remember that you could also choose to write this with your combinations as your sets of parentheses, and you could do 3, 0 like that. Make sure there's no bar for a fraction. So I would do 3, choose 0, 3, choose 1, 3, choose 2, and 3, choose 3, and then I have my plus signs in between here. Now, when I go to evaluate this one, the negative right here will make a difference. So 3, choose 3, if you do that on your calculator. So if you do 3, choose 0, you get 1, which you should be expecting. So I have 1, x to the third, and then negative 6 to the 0 is 1, plus, and then if we do 3, choose 1, and we get 3, so I have 3 x squared, and then negative 6 to the first is negative 6. So when I evaluate this one, the first one, which I didn't finish evaluating, is just x cubed, but when I do this one I have 3 times negative 6, which gives us negative 18. Which apparently I wanted to write 6. So negative 18 x to the second. And then 3, choose 2, if you go back to your calculator, is also going to be a 3. So I have plus 3x to the first, which we can just write an x now. And then negative 6 squared is a positive 36. So then we have 36 times by 3 gives us 108. So this is going to be, notice negative 6 squared is positive 36. So positive times positive is still positive, so this is positive 108x. And then 3, choose 3. If we go back to the calculator, we have 3, whoops, okay, one more. I'm going the wrong direction. 3, choose 3, which is 1. Okay, so I'm going to do plus 1, x to the 0 is 1. And negative 6 cubed, make sure when you're putting negative 6 cubed in the calculator that you do parentheses, negative 6 to the third. Okay. Now, remember that when it's an odd power, it's going to keep it negative, but just make sure that you're using your parentheses properly on the calculator. So you get negative 216. So I'm going to have 1 times negative 216. So I end up with positive times negative, which is negative, so minus 216. So notice our pattern here, we have positive, negative, positive, negative. So if you have a negative, it's going to start out being positive and then just switch every other one from there on out. Okay? It will always start out positive because the negative power raised to 0 will always be 1. So that's why it will always start out being positive. Now, if I happen to switch these around and I did 6 minus x cubed, we would still follow the same pattern. I could do this one to the highest power and then start and then go descending. So 6 cubed, 6 squared, 6 to the first, 6 to the 0. Then this one would be a negative x. I'd start with the lowest power rather, and then I'd go up. So negative x to the 0, negative x to the 1, negative x to the second and negative x to the third. Okay? And then we still have our numbers. We can use Pascal's triangle. So if we recreate Pascal's triangle, we've got 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, and 1, 3, 3, 1. So it would be on this row. Notice it's really the fourth row, but we start counting at 0. So I have n equals 0, 1, 2, and 3. So since this is cubed, I'm going to the third row in Pascal's triangle. So I would have 1, 3, 3, 1. And then these are pluses in between. So I would do 6 cubed, which is 216, times by x to the 0, which is 1. So I would have 216. And then here we would have 6 squared, which is 36, and then 36 times by 3 gives us the 108 again. So I'd have plus 108 negative x, so or times by negative x, so this would flip to negative 108x, and then 3 times 6 to the first is 18. Negative x squared, however, is positive x squared, so then I get plus 18x, and then 6 to the 0 is 1, times by 1 is 1, times by negative x cubed is negative x cubed. So even if you switch it around, you still follow the same pattern where the left one gets raised to the highest power and then goes descending from there, and the right gets raised to the highest, or sorry, starting with the lowest power and goes up from there. Okay, and then there are two ways to get your coefficients. One is with Pascal's triangle, and then the other one is with your combinations. And this is how you can use the binomial theorem to help you expand binomials quicker so that you don't have to do a whole bunch of multiplying. So it looks not super great at the beginning, but it's really not that bad after you get the couple of patterns down.